Okay,
Okay, so
yeah.
put it, where to put it.
Yes, please, Mr. Scaris has arrived as well. And, hand carry, we can have an H-I, under superintendent. H will be.
Will be added
Mhm.
as for H and I.
H and I. H can be the salary schedule, and I can be the personnel agenda. And those would be for action
Correct.
tonight.
Hi.
Hey. Well, great. Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
So wait, we're amending it, or?
Yeah, these are changes. I asked if there were any additions, changes, or amendments to the agenda.
Okay.
Superintendent had 2 items, so we're amending it, and those 2 items are being added to the agenda. Accepted as the amendment.
Can you give me a minute to add, Mr. Scaris, so can you give me 1 minute? I want to see if it will come up.
Forgive my tardiness.
Oh, that's okay, you're on time. You're good.
Okay,
Okay, will you call the roll?
yes, Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews.
Yes.
Mr. Scaris.
Yes.
And Ms. Moore.
Yes. The agenda has been accepted and amended. Next up, we have a presentation. Your perfect timing. You're next up.
I had pulled a Myra. I was at home. My feet was as good as up.
Yeah.
Let's pump this
If you guys need a few minutes, that's fine. Do you need a few minutes? Okay. We're gonna have a presentation by Catapult. Yeah. It's okay.
How you doing? I'm doing well, thank you. Everything.
You wanna put our food in the other room, Mr. Andrews, and help me?
In
Yeah.
what?
Put our food in the other room while we're waiting?
Sure.
Yeah. Put it there. We're gonna have an executive session. Yeah. Mr. Andrews has a bunch of stuff. Did you have the other?
Yeah, that's right, you did.
Okay.
Food and drinks when you-
Oh my gosh, all right.
Perfect.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I can order that
You
shot
did-
real quick.
It was a, what do you call it?
Say
It was a carry-in. Where's y'all stuff?
I guess.
Nobody, who said it was a
No, I'm
carry-in?
just joking.
That was not on, that was not in the agenda.
No.
Here's that water.
No.
You don't DoorDash?
No, I did it one time, and this lady came, she was so dirty, and then plus my food was missing. I think she ate it.
Please, shut up. You're a liar.
So official. Are we the only people in here?
Yeah,
And then my,
So,
What's up, man?
You know what? I am gonna take a
He said
motion
from
real
now
quick,
on,
since
he
this
will
is
go get
a
it.
retreat.
I do not have to do that anymore.
Okay. I need a motion for a loose meeting tonight.
Oh, so moved.
Moved in second.
Thus the
all right?
T-shirt.
Yes. Yeah, Ms. Allen, will you, any questions?
Help me
All right.
understand what you're doing.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
it's a
following.
motion for a loose meeting, because we are not gonna be real tight tonight, all right?
But
It's a
that's not-
motion.
And you want something official in a
Yeah,
minute?
yeah, anytime we can call a motion for a loose meeting, all right? And it's been properly Moved.
Norman and I
Vanessa.
was second.
I wouldn't put no suit today, I'm sorry.
Okay,
don't
will you
blame you.
call the roll?
Yes,
No questions
Mr.
about
Scares,
Yes.
Mrs. Judy Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman. Yes. And Ms. Moore.
that? Yes, okay, chill.
Right.
Yes, hi Rachel, how are you? Good. So, okay, Rachel wanted to come out, share some updates with Catapult, all right? We appreciate you, and we're ready to see what you guys have for us, okay?
Awesome.
Thank you.
We're gonna go through some of the stuff that we've already created for you guys, show it to you. Our agenda is we wanna show you some of our favorite photos from our student photo shoot. The billboards that you've probably already seen out in the wild, but I wanna show them to you as well. Look at the Board of Education wall design, as well as some of the motivational moments posts that we made for you guys during testing, as well as the calendar design, and then walk you guys through the brand guide that we've created for you. So these are some of our favorite photos. I don't want to spend too long on it, but I just wanted you to see how awesome this shoot went with all the different students that got involved. We were at each of the different schools and got a very wide variety of students participating in mathematics, science, arts, culture, as well as in their classes as well. So it was very successful. These are their 5 junior billboards that you guys have that are those rotating billboards. We've got our 5 topics, and again, we're keeping that "we have it" phrase as our campaign slogan. So we've got STEM learning, we have it; quality teachers, we have it; after school programs, we have it; academic excellence; and arts and education. The design of these led us to our large billboard. This guy is our 30-footer. Some of it's getting blocked by that share screen thing. But, yes, you can see that. We got some from the basketball championship. Congrats again, as well as different students engaging in different activities. This is our Board of Education wall that's gonna go just down the hall. And this guy is set for install in the next 2 weeks. So I'm excited about that. And the reason we've got it like this is we've got these large plexiglass, covers over the photos so that you guys can easily change the photos if you get new headshots or change people or anything of that nature. Right here, we're looking at some of the 3 social media posts that we did for our motivational moments with the different board members. And I'll show you one of the videos that accompanied those that was used in the lunchroom. And this looped during lunch and was on a looping video. During testing. Thank you. So this is what we've come up with for the calendar design. Each month has sort of a theme, right? We've got April as the academics month, the March as the athletics month, and each of those different designs has that red overlay over the different photos so that you get that kind of jumping out of the photo. We've also added this little, on the bottom, you'll see that little area for notes, so that it can be a little bit more interactive with parents and teachers who have it, and they can add their own events to it as well. And our thinking with this is we really wanted it to be something very visually attractive that you'd want to hang in your home or your classroom, and you really want to keep. So that brings me to our brand guide. I'm gonna walk through some of the different branding elements that we've gone through. We'll start with the purpose, the theme. We'll go into the logo and the logo and the slogan use. So we will make sure of logo and slogan right there. Logo only usage, inappropriate logo usage. So this is for anything you guys are printing, whether it's that lovely banner right there or just a piece of paper that you're handing to parents. We talked about brand colors, brand typography, brand voice, our audience profiles, and then purpose, we have let's set a course for success. When we maintain a consistent and powerful brand image, we will really show the Dayton region that we have it. The brand guide for Trotwood-Madison schools has been developed to ensure maximum recognition of our brand identity. This guide provides basic guidelines and standards for proper application of the logo, typography, and graphics, as well as applying effective communication strategy on all printed and electronic communications. Strict adherence to these guidelines will guarantee a consistent, unified identity. So basically, anyone who designs, prepares, implements, or supervises the production of graphic or written materials for Trotwood-Madison should use this manual. So our theme. And of course, all these photos you are seeing are actual Trotwood-Madison students that we took on our different photo shoots. So Trotwood-Madison Schools has undergone a transformative journey. It's a journey that we should all be proud of, but it's a journey that many, even in our own schools, don't know about or understand. So we need a strategy and a campaign to help us communicate this transformation effectively and build up the pride that we have in our schools. It's not about reflecting on our past, and while we always have our eye on the future, it's not about that either. It's about the great things happening in our school right now, from after-school programs, early STEM learning, college preparedness, devoted teachers and staff, open enrollment opportunities, academic excellence. We have it. So this is an important slide, and I know it's a lot of text, so I'm going to try to paraphrase a little bit. But this idea that it's more than a theme and that it is a rallying cry for students, teachers, anyone who works with the school at all. So we have it. It can mean something a little different to everyone in the district, and that is intentional. It's a phrase that unifies us, builds us up, and allows for each person to have their own definition. We have it is not about putting other teams, schools, or communities down. It's about building ours up. In order to be our best, we need to believe in ourselves and in the purpose that Trotwood-Madison Schools serves. We have it as our rallying cry, our new chant, our mantra, and it's a reminder of how great we really are right now. So when I've broken this up real quick, are some topics about, so we say we have it, what do we have, what does it mean to our different groups? So with our academics, our classrooms have the material variety and workload that demands that our students study hard and push beyond what they thought they were capable of. Trotwood-Madison Schools are able to grow our students' natural ability in the subjects that they like and are encouraged to give equal efforts to the courses that challenge them. Our students are challenged to grow and given the individual attention necessary to succeed beyond high school. Our students have the foundation to succeed. What does we have it mean to the community? So our community has gone through ups and downs to get where it is. Trotwood is on the rise and is a city that believes in itself, our neighbors, and our schools. Trotwood supports entities that improve our city, and we band together to celebrate the successes of those from our area. Our community has momentum. Athletics. Our team have the determination to band together and compete as one. They put in the sweat and practice into being the best in the district and the state. They are in sync as a team, and each member has the chance to show off their individual ability. Our team has a winning spirit. Parents. Our parents are proud of the students for what they've accomplished. They have high hopes for their students. They want them to acquire the skills to shine in postgraduate education and job interviews. They have always believed that their children have it, and that's why they chose Trotwood-Madison Schools. Our parents believe in their kids. Teachers. Our teachers are there because they want to make a difference in the lives of their students. They are dedicated to making a lasting impact and preparing the next generation to be responsible, productive members of society. But they also teach here because the district is one that allows them to grow as professionals. Our teachers are supported by benefits, mentorship, and opportunities for personal and professional advancement. Our teachers are supported and listening to. So these are just some of the verbiage that could be passed around about just discussing the different opportunities of We Have It and how it applies to different areas of the school. So logo usage. As you'll see, we've talked about how it can look in black and white, how it can look in full color, how it can look on gray background. We've got the tagline typography for We Have It, as well as horizontal options. This is what happens when it's just the logo itself. These are the things we don't want to do. We don't want to remove the line separation between Trotwood and Madison. We don't want to alter the fonts. We don't want to alter the fonts to put undue space in between them. We don't want to put shadow effects behind the logo. We don't want to squish the logo to fit into a space or change the colors of the Trotwood red. We don't want to alter the balance of the elements. So here the N's been stretched and the T's been elongated. We don't want to try to put the logo over a photo where it's difficult to read. We don't want to adjust the letter spacing in any way. that would stray from the brand guide. We don't want to put red on red ever, don't want to use a logo file that would result in poor resolution. Our brand colors, and again, this is just useful for printing or if anyone needs to know, these are the Pantone colors. These colors right here, though they might look different, these are also the colors that have been slowly used throughout this presentation. So while they might look kind of strange, brown, and kind of like a beige by itself, combined with the logo, they have a really cohesive feel. Brand typography, Argo and Railway are your fonts. So brand voice. The best brand voice messaging strategies are also the simplest. Common purpose, clear objectives. In just 3 words, the We Have It slogan communicates confidence, commitment, and in the enthusiasm of Trotwood-Madison ideals to provide a top-notch education to tomorrow's leaders today. We have identified 3 main target audiences as well as a set of brand voice guidelines that should be followed. So with our vision and our mission. Our vision is that we inspire academic excellence through top-down leadership and academic opportunities at every level. Our mission, at Trotwood-Madison School District, every student is given the academic foundation for pursuing their goals and impacting the world around them. What does our brand voice sound like? Our character persona is confident, proud, certain, and intelligent. The language we use is mature, respectful, informative, clear-cut. We refer to the people that we serve as students and not children, because we have a variety of different age groups. Our tone is personable, honest, enthusiastic, mature, and non-placating. Our purpose is to educate, inform, and build pride. What we've done real quick is we've taken our different audiences, our parents, our teachers, and our community. We've talked obviously about who they are, what could their possible pain points be with the branding, the school, the district as a whole. Where do we fit into that, and how do we reach them? So with our first group, our parents, so who they are, the parents, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, inside and outside of our school district. So pain points. These aren't the things that they necessarily feel, these are the things that we want to stop before they happen, in a sense. So they may feel like they don't believe the district can make significant academic progress in the time that their student has left in the district. They might feel let down, unheard, and doubtful that any additional effort on their part will have a positive impact on their students' education, especially if they're the parents of older students. They may feel that they don't have the time, money, or desire to take a more active role in their students' future. So where the district fits in with their branding, with their efforts, everything. So we hear their complaints without confirming or denying them by lending a supportive ear. We show them the excitement we have for the district's future and reiterate to them that their children are supported, loved, and valued. We show them by example that they have a positive impact in their child's life by creating that positive impact in their children's lives at school. Through our continued success, we prove to them that they don't need to doubt the district's intention or ability, and that this initiative is one for the community to take on together. So what are some ways that we reach them? Parenting bulletins, both print and digital, events where we speak directly to them, as well as district communications and through their children. You'll notice that our campaign is kind of a bottom-up approach. Once we talk to the children convince the parents convince the community. So our students, from preschoolers to high schoolers, their pain points might be that they don't feel that they have the potential and the support to succeed. They may not feel empowered enough to take control of their education, or they may not feel that their education has importance. They may have doubts about the effectiveness of the work that the district is doing, and feel that they are too far along in their education to make a change. So where we fit in, we empower them to take charge of their education and future whenever possible. We ensure that they know that they are supported by teachers, staff, community, and families. We give them as many opportunities as possible to feel like the school is a welcoming, safe space, and that they have the potential to fulfill their dreams after high school. We reach them through in-school marketing, i.e. posters, banners, social media, digital marketing, the way that the teachers talk, the way that the district talks, the way that coaches talk, social media presence, and word of mouth amongst each other. Our third audience profile is the staff, our current and future teachers and district employees. So possible pain points that they might feel. They might feel like they don't have the time in their day to change the material or the way they teach. District employees may feel overworked and like they're wearing too many hats to take on a new role. They may have doubts about the possibility of district change and worry that their efforts will be a drop in the bucket. So where the district fits in. We can show them that we support them through this transition. We know that change is never easy or without periods of uncomfortableness. We must give them all the tools we can to make this change as seamless as possible. We emphasize that they already have a full-time job and that changing old ways takes time, patience, and desire. We can reward those who are transitioning well and provide support to those that are moving less quickly. How do we reach them? District communications, rhetoric from their superiors, guides on communicating with employees or students or families, and career fairs for our future teachers. So tying it all together, we know what our voice sounds like, we know who we're talking to, and we know why we're talking to. So how does it all work together? The theme of we have it. Then we've got our different value propositions from different groups, i.e. for parents we have early STEM learning, we have it after school programs. For students we have college preparedness, counseling, computer science, engineering, learning the ins and outs of running a theater performance or get on stage yourself, we have it. The teachers we have, we want a career that makes a difference. We have tuition reimbursement, and we have teacher mentorship programs, just to name a few ideas and things that we have. And that's it. That's your full, long breakdown about how we talk to people and how we use our logo and branding.
Rachel, share with the board how this came about along the lines of the brand guide, because it's been it's been historical where you could walk into a CVS and see Trotwood stuff. You could go to a Walmart. You could, everybody and their brothers printing up T-shirts and all kinds of things. And really and truly, I think the district stands from the superintendent and the treasurer. And Janice's been preaching this for a very long time. So Janice, this is part of your wish list. We have to get our hands wrapped around this. We have to have the consistency throughout the district and maintain the integrity of the brand. I can't tell you how many Rams we have out
As I
there.
sit in my T-shirt.
Okay, yeah, we want to talk to you about that. No, that's just the dress. You just dress, all right?
I
But
shall remain silent.
he will abstain tonight, all right? So, but again, we have got to get our hands wrapped around things that have been out of order for a long time. I mean, you guys know, as this board has really worked hard from the very beginning, the setting the goals and setting the vision and putting the North Star up there and having everybody follow it. We have to do everything in sync, and this has been out of sync as well. So there's more initiatives to follow. Janice is going to talk to us about those at another time along the lines of how and who can use these brands. We want people to promote us. We want that, but there's a cost to do that. And that cost goes toward our students. Because again, it's minimal, but again, we have every Dick, Tom, and Harry coming in this district with a T-shirt. Yeah, and they're making money off our kids. So really and truly, when we look at all the websites, Matthew, will you talk more about the websites and the social media pages and all of those things?
I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on.
The bird.
So who did make that T-shirt?
I have no idea.
Okay, so that kind of stuff makes us cringe,
Mhm.
when we see it, because we don't own any of that, right? So just an example of what you're looking at up here is the amount of brands that are out there, and.
And these are just the top 10 that I saw when we were looking around.
Inside of our schools, inside of our schools.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these are actually straight up clip art, like that are just drawn, like somebody just picked it off the internet. One thing that Tyrone shared with me, what school was it you called?
Whitehall.
Yeah, uses the exact two same
Yeah,
brands, right?
the main ram, the sky, the red horns and the white face.
So that,
So let me ask a question. That I would consider to be easily controllable. But in an essence like this, where somebody's just,
we're gonna.
how do you
take our
control
brand.
that?
So actually, a thing with your logo, which you don't see everywhere, there is different versions out there floating, but like our creative director looked at the logo, and it was actually imbalanced, right? The T was
I can
smaller on one
actually show
side.
you, if you guys look over here, this T is thicker than this T right here. I don't know if you can see that from where you're sitting, but there's different versions of the logo floating around. This one's in black, this one's in light gray, so there's a lot of variance.
Well, I get that, but I guess what my question is, I mean, we can control it internally. I mean, but you can't, I mean, anybody can
Right.
pull the logo or a logo off Google or whatever and create whatever they want.
Depending on what you guys wanna do, once it's been trademarked as this is the
Okay.
set brand.
Okay.
Like, what would you like to do? I mean, with the Dave Inspires brand that I have, I let people use it all the time. I have no problem with that. And that will literally come down to what you all are willing to do, right? Now, if it's somebody like a bigger corporation coming in and taking your logo, they should pay for the
Sure.
trademark, right? So what you just saw with the brand guide is us just laying standards down for how it should be used all the time, no matter what, right? If you're gonna break that, we have authority to go in and talk to them about it. We would also know if they're using it properly or improperly. So, that leads me to, there's 12 social media pages for Trotwood-Madison schools currently. Sending out different messages to everyone, and we are trying to get a handle on that.
Actually 13, we saw the one earlier this week.
For Trotwood-Madison city schools?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's, and then, like, that's just Facebook. That is just Facebook. So, we're trying to contact, because some staff started some, parents started some.
Oh, so you're including the ones that the staff started?
Yeah.
For instance,
Okay.
like Trotwood-Madison,
Mhm.
something like that.
But that should go under Trotwood-Madison Athletics. If we
Right.
should even consider that to be a new page, right? The voice and the message needs to come from the same brand.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We are Trotwood-Madison schools, this is how we talk, this is what we talk about, right? Versus, staff member decided
Yeah.
to start this page because they were frustrated and this is how they talk. Because I'll be honest, that's a massive liability for all of us. It is. Somebody gets disgruntled, something bad happens, they don't understand how PR works. And also from our standpoint, when we're trying to help you with all of that,
Right,
there's blind spots everywhere.
yeah.
So what we've been trying to do is just consolidate all of this stuff down to like, okay, here's where we are, and this is where we're going, this is where we're gonna be. Make sense?
And internal to the district, that makes sense, because we did have, different departments with their own page and not necessarily under the board, Trotwood-Madison page, so,
And
And
also
I
that's
totally
what-
get how it happened, but it is an issue, for instance, you guys had a snow day, and I think 4 different Facebook pages all
Right.
posted different information about whether
right,
school was out or not.
exactly.
So it's
It should
definitely
be
an issue.
just consistency all across the
Right.
board. So, I mean,
From the
it's a growth
district, it should
problem.
only come out from one source.
It's just a growth problem.
Right.
It's not the worst problem to have, because you are growing, but from somebody like our point of view, when we're trying to control information output, it all should be the same, right? If we do have those 13 pages, which are totally against, we're trying to cut them out, because we can merge the pages into one thing.
Yes. And if they have an
It's been a
audience,
bear.
what he's meaning by that is, say there's an audience that really follows Trotwood football, say that's a page. We can merge those people into Trotwood High School page, we don't have to lose any
Well,
page.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So we still, but still, the message should always be the same. If it is, it should be typed out the same. It should, like, parents should not be confused. Like the thing with the calendar that we were showing, parents don't really understand what events are happening and what times. I mean, with the website, which we're not in control of, kind of the same situation. Like, we're trying to get teachers and new enrollment, and some of that information doesn't.
You said you're not in control of the website, in control of the website?
No. I'm not
That's-
sure who the vendor is, but there are like, 30 plus broken links as we're going through, and we're doing messaging, like, we did a radio ad recently, but we just like copy edited,
Yeah.
like what the
And then we
ads
got
say.
blown up by different people on Facebook saying, I followed the radio ad and that link didn't go anywhere. I went to the website, I couldn't find information. And then we have to try to like funnel them to it.
Who's the vendor?
Who runs the website?
Ours?
I don't think it's Alan's fault, I think it's.
No, I wouldn't say a fault, I wouldn't say a fault, I mean, I'm
It's
just
just
saying.
not her fault. It's
No, I'm
just-
saying, I think, yes, who runs ours, Ella is the person, Ella are either here at the front desk.
Well,
but-
who's the host?
Yeah, you don't mean person.
Right, I
you
don't mean person.
Oh,
Yeah,
the host.
who's the host, yeah.
I didn't ask Marlon who the host is.
We're not in contact with them. We're
Okay.
more than happy to help you with that, but, I mean, look, you guys are in a great position right now, because you are actively, like, thinking about these things, and, when you think about somebody like your neighbors, right, they are taking steps backward versus forward, and you guys are actively going in the right direction. This is probably gonna take a little bit of time, but once we get it all consolidated, which I think we've done a really good job all working together, just to make it really like compact.
The brand guide is that very first step.
Yeah, we
So
won't
say
have
we
this
can't get rid of all
problem.
the Facebook pages today, but we know who owns them, we can share the guide and say, this is how you, if you're gonna talk to people that's not in the district, you should at least talk to them this way.
Yeah.
So who disseminates this information to the staff in a way that they understand it? So it's just not coming across as a letter or another email, but really kind of understand the importance of,
Something that we'd like to work with you guys on, like, it's something we're working with Tyrone and Nissan, and we're trying to figure out the best way to communicate with the staff, so it doesn't become that. But we know you have a really engaged staff, the student population is getting there, but there's no perfect solution for all of it. So it's a mixture of the digital outreach and the, like, actual physical, like, in-reach, as you would call it. We're doing, what, next week? We're interviewing tomorrow?
That's tomorrow.
Kids at the high school, kids at the high school.
Yeah, so we're trying to like get masters
Internships.
inside of the schools to help us with this as well, right? Because we want them to be engaged and really excited about what's going on, right? That's the only way to reach our youth is like, yeah, I may be in my early thirties, but I'm gonna be super old to all of them, right? And I gotta listen to me, and while Rachel's in her twenties, they're probably
I
not
don't
listening to
listen to
her. So we want them to be engaged with themselves, so we're hoping to just acclimate these students, to really get on board with us
They're
and help us.
living this every day, so they're gonna have great ideas about, like, okay, we get the We Have campaign, we like it. How do we actually make the students feel like it's their own campaign?
And I'll tell you, as far as like students participating in photo shoots, or people participating in photo shoots, just in general, your students were.
So engaging, so
Right.
eager to be in photos, and it was really impressive. It's like, wow, you make my job really easy.
How about we ask those three over there, because we wanted a really diverse group of people, right? Because your
In
staff
different
is diverse.
classes,
Yeah.
and everyone was really on board, and it was a really easy photo shoot. Everyone was wanted to be in the photos.
We had to do it a couple of times, but that was,
There are many schools,
yeah.
as is suspected.
So how do we decide, and have we decided on our, district RAM?
Can I give you a tidbit? We're working on it right now. We're just not prepared to show it to you yet. We're
Okay.
gonna work through it internally and, with like some of the staff here.
Students.
And then we'll be ready to present that. 'Cause we
Okay.
wanna make sure we come with something solid.
Yeah.
Okay, and so before that would go out, the board would also see that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. We know this isn't a small change.
You're right.
We know there's a lot of different brands going on here.
And there's a lot of
Right.
history involved with these.
Yes.
things,
It
too.
really is, so,
We
yeah.
wanna make sure that we are on board and everybody's on the same page before we roll something out, because ultimately, you are all the ones that will end up having to hear about that, right?
and I would, oh, go ahead. I would love to, once that decision is made and we say, yay or nay or whatever, just like something that introduces it to not just the staff, but really the city, to say, and not just, it shows up on a document, but this is what it is, this is why, this is, I think that affords us a really opportunity to celebrate something new and forward-thinking. So I just want to kind of throw that out there as a possibility.
I love brand launch videos.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Especially with something like an icon like the Ram that you guys all have, right?
It's a powerful image, and I think it's gonna be a powerful launch.
In your athletics,
Excited.
I know we're moving more towards like education, right? Because that's what you guys are all about. You guys are doing some really, really innovative stuff with that. In athletics, solid, right? Piece of cake. So a really solid image for the state of Ohio as they get to know you more and more, I think is an ideal way for us to just establish ourselves as a district.
So also, one of the things, I went down and met with Rachel last week, I brought back the RAM head that they had created. I gave some feedback, Marlon gave some feedback, but I said, one of the things is really get some feedback from the students. So I took the Patty Allen's class, and she had some feedback. So that's when they said, talking about reaching back into the school tomorrow. It's the same class. It's some kids that we're looking at possibility of having interns there. And some kids who really are, when you look at a lot of our work that comes out of our district, it's really 2 kids that's doing all that work. It comes out of high school. So we're trying to get those kids engaged with a marketing firm, kind of teach them the real way of doing something. I mean, I think these kids have talent, but they're figuring it out on their own versus having someone really coach them up.
Just to know on that, the buyback that we get from the students themselves. Right?
We'll
They
take
can have
their
ownership.
opinion very seriously because they're, like we said,
They're living.
living us.
They're
They're in
living.
the schools every day. We're not.
They're gonna treat them just as if they were employees.
And I think helping create what will be the new RAM is something they will hold on to
Yeah,
for
that's it.
forever.
It's keeping them in the community, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? They wouldn't decide and then raise children here and, you know, get their friends inspired.
Be a part of it.
Well, we
One
have a
other-
lot more stuff we're working on. Do we have the next steps slide?
But I think one other thing I asked Rachel, can you give a background on how you are able to, with things, how you monitoring our network and everything, how you guys are catching things like the situation in the last 2 weeks ago? Can you talk about that a little
We
bit?
talked about that.
Huh? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
names, yeah.
it's a loose meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted, I didn't want to bring it up.
Yep, no, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, if
so-
you can't tell us.
Who do you tell, right?
I never know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Let me say the first thought and then follow that way. We are fully aware of, students are communicating through social media, and we are able to put monitors on top of that. We have found some things like our issue last week, which is obviously not good. Nobody's in complete control of that.
It's not good, but it is good that they came to what they thought, like the social media page, they thought that's the school income. They came to the school and not the news or to, whatever else they could.
Yeah, so the whole purpose of us monitoring what students are posting on social media is so that we don't have any blind spots.
Are you talking about what happened at MP?
The what?
Is that Westbrook?
Oh, yeah.
WB?
No, this is a high school, well, it's kids outside of our district, inside the district, high school, they were having some conversations.
Oh,
You know,
And we
I don't know
gave it to
about
the police
we did our
department.
job then.
We gave it to the police department, because I can't see any of it, you wouldn't be able to see any of it either, and again, we're waiting to hear confirmation
Well, we
back
found-
from the 2
I don't know,
schools.
if I could be completely frank, we found fight videos, we found all kinds of different stuff that students are posting. They're literally handing it over to us by tagging the school or tagging different areas of Trotwood.
The way, like he's saying, the way we find this stuff is somebody tagged somebody in Texas school or the location, or that they tag the location of the fight as the literal school, stuff like that. And those kind of things get pinged by our different softwares and let us know, like,
Yeah, find all kind of stuff.
because if we can find it, anybody can find it. It's just Googling Trotwood-Madison.
We're just trying to get in front of it before
You know,
WHO makes us look like bad guys.
right.
You know, like, because we're not, we're all working really hard to make sure that the school district and students are being raised the right way and trained the right way and taught. And we want to attract teachers and we want our staff to stay. So we're just trying to basically play interference in
Right.
between the bad press that, Trotwood tends to just get the bad rap sometimes and try to make sure that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, our public face is important, and it was interesting because I think one of you had mentioned, there was a fight on the social media page, and it was when Terry Logan was principal.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Years.
Years ago.
Yeah, so it looked like,
It looked like it
But
happened
now-
today.
Today.
Right,
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, that's the way they made it look.
yeah,
Because I remember showing.
we were like,
you
what
and
is that?
Yeah, you're like,
Is
oh
that
my God,
Terry
this is
Logan?
Terry
You immediately noticed Terry.
Yeah,
right?
I see, yeah.
No, that's just.
That's old.
Yeah, but it looked brand new,
Mm.
Yeah, but if I was a parent, I was just like, oh,
Yeah,
no.
right.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
And they mixed it in when we were having those
Issues,
issues
right.
throughout the day, so it looked like we were doing that every day.
yeah.
Listen, the main thing, I think, to the board, though, I think that the Catapult has really done a great job of helping us monitor what's out there on social media. Again, I'm not a social media guy, and the people here don't have the expertise. They have the expertise. They're finding things, I think, that will paint a bad picture of us. They're catching those things and taking care of it. If there's something that's dealing with more of a criminal element, they identify myself, I then turn over to the police department. They then investigate it for us, which it really happens kind of quickly. And again, I don't even know the outcome of it because it doesn't happen at school. These are community things that happen on social media that they then deal with.
They can forewarn us.
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes you want to know. You want to know before it becomes an issue.
right.
Well, we don't want it to be an issue, right?
Right.
We're trying to, like, we believe in the work that we're doing in the school district itself and all the information going out, and that stuff kind of hinders the work that we're doing. Like, we don't want anything, like like the one bad egg,
Right.
and not those people or those students or whoever it may
Not that
be.
they're bad eggs, they're just releasing things that they shouldn't be releasing.
Yeah.
To make the school in a way that doesn't want to be.
Personally, I don't know why anybody tells on themselves that way. But that's just
Part of it.
the part of social media nowadays and the new generation, so we're just trying to be in front of that, and make sure that our image is improving.
And not trying to get students in trouble, not trying to make sure they can't talk to each other, they can't
Thank you.
rant about their frustrations. It's more if anything's criminal or anything's, really gonna
So the
news.
WHO doesn't pick it up, essentially.
Now, I know we have a lot of next steps because we have our new health center opening, we have a lot of good things, so you guys want to talk about some of those things that we're
Well, here's a
working
short
on?
list
Yeah.
of stuff you'll see the next time we're in here. Yeah.
We're doing the newsletter, like you said, we're talking about, how do we talk about the new health center that's opening? Do we take photos, what kind of communications do we do surrounding that? We looked at, I showed you briefly that slide of the different RAMs, we're looking into the RAM design, involving the students in that, and part of that goes into, do we have interns from Trotwood-Madison helping us with kind of like the pulse of the students and training them as well on different advertising initiatives, as well as finalizing our district goals poster. And that's just some of the things in the next 3 weeks, right? This isn't a list of the next 6 months.
We don't want to scare you with the long list of stuff. But we're more than happy to come back whenever you want us and just give you a status update. Summer's gonna be slower for us because it's gonna be, we did the big push of all of this work, just to get it all set up.
There's a lot up front because any kind of brand strategy campaign, talking about how we talk about it, just takes a lot of strategy hours, which is what we suspected. And so, yeah, our heavier months are probably behind us.
For the administrators, a lot of the work, like the newsletter design, we have the newsletters, but they're all different right now. So here you have a fresh, clean look going into next year to have the background. We can still upload and put our information, but it's one clean look, what it would be.
Will that be consistent even down to like the school newsletters?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about,
Oh,
school,
okay.
yeah, to be consistent, yeah.
Okay.
Events and things like that, as we map out these calendars, we will have our events locked in, and then these are the event dates, and everyone now knows what the events are, versus, okay, here's a new date, and here's a new date, and so we got just more consistency, and we'll lock those dates in. The district goals posters, want to make sure to get those up, make sure in all the rooms and across the district, so everyone knows what the district goals are, and we always are then going back and addressing anything we're doing as a part of the district goal, our strategic goals for the district.
So, to answer your question, we made you guys a bunch of templates
Okay.
that we just hand out to all of our staff.
Stationary.
And then they can just fill in all the information, so you don't have to.
Stationary. Everything. That's what I'm saying. The other thing about the branding part, it was a lot of little things that had us all over the place when it came to branding, like our letterhead and all the things. They're cleaning up all the stuff you probably wouldn't pay attention to, but they're cleaning up a lot of internal pieces that we're using internally now that make us look really good going out.
Well, parents, communication, anything that's going out, the logo's over here versus over here, I mean, anybody can make that, you know what I mean? Just having the consistent look and feel and messaging will do wonders just
Right.
for parents not having to call the school to figure out what's going on.
So one of the things I think you're asking the question, how do we go about becoming consistent? When we bring Catapult in and have them work with myself and administrators, so we become consistent first in our building level, and then that then radiates throughout the district.
Speaking hypothetically, in the event that we gave you had control of the website, would that be included in what you've already done?
I don't think we have the budget for that, Frank. I mean, we were hired for communication, design, branding, that kind of stuff. I can tell you from experience that what you're paying for the website is significantly higher than what you should be, I think on a monthly basis. And the flexibility you have with it doesn't seem like it's there. I mean, broken links, all that kind of stuff, you know? I mean, we could use some of our hours to go into it, fix some things, but I don't believe we have access to the
I'm sorry, built-in what?
Drupal, it's just a
It's a
different
coding language.
A true.
It's built for developers. Like whoever built it for himself to go in and fix everything.
The reason that you said Ellen was running it, why she can't
Right.
make those changes, is because
Right.
it's coded in a language that I believe only 3% of developers can do. So,
Who did we contract to do
I'll
that?
have to ask Marlon.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Can we get, like the length of that contract?
Mhm.
Maybe so we can compare some pricing and maybe they can do a better job for cheaper.
Yeah.
Um,
And I don't recall it coming before the board along the lines of what it costs.
I don't remember.
Typically how those contracts get slid in is they do, basically you never own the website,
you
ever,
pay monthly to keep it.
for the rest of eternity.
Yes.
For life.
You end up
And then
paying
maintenance
10 times
costs.
more for the website than if you just built it and it was yours.
And
We'll,
I'm
we'll
sure
look into it.
Rachel would be more than happy to share all the. Like,
Yeah, I have, Tyron, you see my short list, but I made a bigger list of just any links that I found while clicking around with things that don't go anywhere, pages that don't work.
well, our hiring link doesn't work. People are wondering how they get a job at Trotwood-Madison.
Our hiring link doesn't work?
And from my standpoint, like Frank, makes my job a lot harder when I'm trying to get teachers to sign up to work here and I don't have a tool to send them to the right place. So we have to give them a phone number.
Were you aware of that?
No.
No, I mean,
I
this is
wouldn't
all
know.
stuff that we've been discussing
They just been
internally.
finding?
They're finding a lot of things on our webpage, just understand
And the
us.
hiring link is a new thing. I
Yeah.
think there was a post out maybe 2 weeks ago at most of like, we're hiring new teachers, look here, and someone had posted that on the Trotwood-Madison page, and that link didn't go anywhere.
Right.
And that's how, and then they were Googling the Trotwood-Madison page, they were looking, and I still can't find the careers link or where
Well,
they
there's
go.
2 billion links.
What our plan was we were supposed to meet this week.
Yeah.
Is to just share all this information. Yeah.
It's
So I'm
good that
sorry
you're
to-
sharing it with the board though, because this is good stuff. I mean, we need to know everything along the lines of what's
I want-
happening in the
but if-
I
district.
want to see you all successful.
Right, if-
I want to be successful, and I want you to hire me back next year and be like, wow, what a great job you guys did. But things like this, it's just.
We found a lot of things on our current webpage, and things are not working as well. I mean, just, it's stuff that we would never know. It's
No,
just
'cause we're
Rachel
not
calls me, Tom, I
familiar.
got this here, I can fix it for you. I say, okay, thanks, Rachel, please do.
But even the HR director, I mean, if she's not getting any hits off the link,
Right.
wouldn't that, I mean, that's like a huge red flag. Like, why isn't anybody applying?
Wouldn't know from the
Okay.
link directly. And again, like I said, if it's not someone calling in and saying, hey, you have a problem here.
She wouldn't
I will
know,
say, we could just set up a landing page, short term.
just for
Just
certain.
for
One
that.
pager says, information about hiring, who they contact, your contact page, send your resume,
Yeah.
so and so.
Consider it a Band-Aid, but we can do that pretty quickly. So you tell me yea or nay, right? Call me tomorrow and you guys discuss it, but I can solve that problem super fast.
Yes, I'm going
I was gonna say something in terms of the hiring, there's a consortium that they go to. So in terms of, I don't know what link you're talking about, but I don't know if that link goes to the consortium.
It didn't go anywhere. That's what he's saying, the link, it didn't go anywhere.
I can
Link
share the
is-
post with you too, then.
Yeah.
It was like a graphic.
I know you
that
said-
said,
I
click
know.
this link to find
Yeah.
out more about our positions.
And that was on our website?
It was sent out via them, so through social media. And again, it's not going anywhere. And again, so that's what I'm saying. We don't have the technical know-how to some of the stuff that we're trying to do. And they're catching, and like I said, they flagged me and called me about some of these things. And there's things.
Stuff happens. Understand that. Not the end of the world. It doesn't help us any, but.
It's easily fixable.
People are trying things, but some of the things, are, again, growing pains, learning how to use these tools, what works and what doesn't work.
You think about where you guys came from just, 6 months ago, 3 months ago. You guys were on the right track. This stuff is gonna pop up, so
Mm.
you guys are doing a great job and thanks for the support.
Thank you.
Do you, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, do you think is it too soon for us to do maybe a rollout at Convocation? Since we'll have everyone there, is that too
That's
soon?
was my thought
Yeah,
as well.
it should be ready by
It's August.
convocation. That's the beginning of the school year.
First day?
Yes.
For the brand.
Roll
For the-
out, roll out.
Rollout.
Oh, yeah, we should be totally fine. If we nail down what the RAM looks like and all that fun stuff, those little tiny details, no problem.
I would almost want to suggest that maybe Catapult should do a presentation, almost like a TED Talk, 10 minutes.
Enough of that.
Yeah.
That's to it'll be every.
Yeah, everybody.
The new, and, yeah, because that would capture the new employees.
That would be everybody. That would be good. And can you send the board a copy of your presentation? Okay, thank you. Anything else, guys? All right.
That branding, I would say for everyone, that branding guy is really nice, even the lettering and everything we use, it's really nice having that. And I think one of the things you need to talk about, the font was a free font versus something you had to purchase. Because there's other fonts that they could have put in there, we had to purchase it, though, this one is a free one.
You can pay $1,000 for fonts sometimes, and we can ensure we use fonts that are.
So we know you
open
guys
source.
can't get the font file to every single teacher, and every single
Yeah,
coach. that's
they'll
gonna-
have to have Photoshop or InDesign or something like that, we just want to make it really easy.
Is it transferable between like,
All the, like Windows,
Mhm.
Macintosh,
yeah,
Apple, yes,
okay.
yeah.
Miss Allen?
Because that's the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask Rachel to make sure you copy me as well, so I can attach that, your presentation to the minutes.
Oh, I was thinking that, okay, so you talked about the newsletter, template as well as, I guess, letterhead. Will there also be a way they can do different, I guess, programs, because there are a lot of different little, plays and things that happen. Will there also be like a standardized program, maybe template? Because I've seen a lot of really bad programs that I'd like
Yeah,
to see.
like our honor
Like
society.
like my name was spelled wrong on the Honor Society.
Yeah.
It was Dennis, like
It's like a lot of really bad.
on the
programs.
Honor, National Honor Society
Did I
piece.
spell your name wrong?
Yeah,
Dennis.
They were really bad, and they're always kind of
Maybe
like
Dennis.
not centered and.
Yeah, we just need to work on all this. Yeah, I didn't even say anything.
So even something like that would be, I think.
It's just a matter of you telling us,
Yeah,
because,
you know, it's
again,
about-
it's growing pains.
Discipline.
We're gonna have to find out what people are using and what they're doing with it. And then, we've already got all the templates put together.
I think
so it's
that would be
nothing
great.
more than just like, okay, program, drop it in.
Keep those forever.
Okay.
send it off. Cool. Anything else?
I think we're good.
I think so,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you again.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks for working with our kids too, the students at the high school, thank you.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
No, I
Good.
was a teacher at one point, back.
No.
I was a preschool teacher for 2 years.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they said make enough money.
Well,
Okay.
I was being honest. I still did it, I got paid. But I love-
We're taking volunteers, you know?
I volunteer.
Yeah, well,
Volunteers better than getting paid.
yeah,
Dad. Yeah.
okay.
All right, well, cheers.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate
Thanks,
it. Okay. Janice, you'll be up next.
of all days to wear this T-shirt.
Because you'll never dress like that.
I was pulling a Myra, my feet were up.
Right, he was like,
I was in my leather chair. Oh, crap.
yeah, that's how it happens.
In your phone, actually, on the left, it has the PowerPoint, and then on the right, it has the proposed five-year forecast. I also, put it on the, board docs, so if you want to, look at it electronically, you can look at it on board docs. So what I wanted to do today, not very long, it's only 10 slides, just to give you a framework of the five-year forecast that we've been working on. And then, give you an opportunity in the next week or so, if you had any questions for, me to answer those questions, and then on the 16th, for you guys to, then approve the five-year. We've never done it before, normally I just come to the, business meeting, but I thought this was very, important to just train everybody up, see where we were going. If you had questions, then we could tweak if we needed to tweak the proposed five-year. Okay, just as an FYI, what the five-year forecast is, we are mandated by law to file a May five-year forecast and an October five-year forecast. And the forecasts are actuals for 3 years before, and then the projected FY19 through FY23. they did have a law change for October. They are going to change this. I don't have to file it until November 30th, but, and I put 2018, well, that was 2018, but I am going to file the October 2019 5-year forecast in October like I normally do. And I just want to make sure we get it. Okay, what I've done is, the next couple slides, just some facts and assumptions. So if you kind of take out your 5-year, kind of lay it to the side, you can kind of follow when I talk about the different sections. And so the property taxes, the tangible personal property, we say public utility property tax. The property tax allocation, which is homestead and your rollback that we get from through the county from the state, it's reimbursements. And then other revenues are all projected to be flat in FY 20 through FY 23. So that's the first, the revenue part of your 5-year at the top. And so we have projected that flat. So if you look at FY 20, 21, 22, 23, all of those lines are basically pretty flat. They don't show a significant increase in those lines. If you go look at line 1.03 for state foundation, and they call it on the 5-year unrestricted state grants and aid and restricted grants and aid. In our 5-year, we have projected an increase of 25 students per year. And we did a check on that, and as of March number 2 report and the April number 2 report, we have had 29 more new students. And so what our projection is holding. We said 25 students, and that's what we're getting, the 25 students. Our one of our initiatives was the open enrollment, and we're hoping that open enrollment will increase that number of students. This next slide, this next point or fact is something I'm really proud of. Our interest income is off the chain. And so far through March, fiscal year to date, we have accumulated $647,000, and that's the investment report that I have in the financial packet each month.
Which line, which line is that?
The third on this forecast facts. The investment line is other revenue, so that would be 1.06.
Okay.
And you can't, I mean, there's other revenues,
I got
so
you.
you
I got
can't
you.
really see that exactly. So, as a continuation, for FY 19, and I'm gonna show some slides a little later, show that for FY 19, I've adjusted some things, and then the FY 20 we'll talk about as we talk about our budget. So in FY 19, all of those revenue lines, right, like our property taxes, the state foundation, property tax allocation, all other revenue, we adjusted it upwards to $210,000 from the October forecast. So we've made a little small gains from our projections, but our projections are pretty right on target. Also for FY 19, the expenditures, I adjusted those down by $2.5 million from October to May, and that was based on the actuals that I'm looking at through June, and those areas of purchase services, supplies and materials, and capital outlay, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as I go to the slide. And then, as we talk about FY 20, I tried very hard to, in FY 19, we had some significant spending. And so, in order to get us kind of back in line, we have to get our expenditures back in line. So, I had a good conversation with Tyrone and Marlon today to just explain some of the things that I felt that we needed to kind of back off on, because if we continue the spending pattern, then when we get to 2023 and beyond, we are going to run out of money. And so I was trying to kind of roll it back to our FY 18 totals, and you'll see that on the slide as well. So I'll show that in a second. Obviously, we're still projecting a positive fund balance throughout the forecast period, but keep in mind, if you look on your 5-year forecast on line 6.01, you'll see that we started deficit spending, and what deficit spending is our expenditures are greater than our revenues. We've started doing that in FY 19. And so we want to try to keep that to a minimum. As you can see, that continues going up, 2.2 million in FY 19 and almost $8 million in 2023. So those expenditures, we really need to monitor those and make sure that we can cut or reduce as much as we can in those areas. Okay, so this is a slide, I just wanted to give this slide to you just to give you some comparisons. So the May 5-year forecast compared to the October one that we filed. And the variance to the right is, you know, we didn't hit our property taxes by 133,000. Keep in mind, so with the projection, and we're talking about $7 million. So we didn't hit that. The other three areas, state foundation was a little less as well. But the other revenue, and that includes the interest income, I had to increase that by 500,000 because we only, in our October forecast, had 1.1 million. And because we have had such a great investment year, I increased that. And then increased the total other sources just a little bit as well. And other sources are our advances when we have our advances in, and refunds. And so a lot of times you can't predict the refund piece, but that was a little increase based on the actuals that I'm looking at through April. The next slide is the expenditures, and what I'm trying to show here is the October 5-year forecast that I filed in 2018 versus what we're gonna file in May 2019. Same concept, I'm looking at the expenditure. And so the expenditures, I kept the salaries and the retirement basically the same. The variances obviously are zero. But for purchase services, supplies and materials and capital outlay, what we thought we were gonna spend in the October 5-year forecast, I reduced that in May forecast based on the actual. So there was $1 million for purchase services, supplies and materials, and I'm reducing that $500,000 for capital outlay. And so that does allow us to pick up some extra cash balances on the other side when you're talking about 2023. Because when we first ran this in 2023, it was $1.1 million. And I said to myself, that's not gonna fly. We have to try to increase our cash balance any way we can. So that, I just wanted to show you that. Now, this one is expenditures, and this is the 3-year look. So FY 2018 is our actuals. 2019 is what we're projecting for this year, and then our projections for 2020. And so you can see our salaries, and our salaries, obviously, salary and retirements are increasing or have increased because of the number of increased bodies or positions that we added. But I tried in FY 20 projections, all the way to the right, I tried to put that back in line more so with the FY 2018 actual, and also as kind of purchase services in line with the 2019 projected. Supplies and materials are still higher than what we did in FY 2018, but there are a lot of things we're gonna be buying, such as the textbook adoptions that go in that line. And so that, a lot of that was academic initiatives that the superintendent wanted to do in FY 20. Other objects, again, I tried to put that in a line, $1.4 million for FY 2020 as compared to 2018 actual. The total other finances are, if you remember, we always have to do a transfer at the end of the year. So there's 2 transfers. One is a transfer for our potential if there's a deficit in the athletic fund, and then our permanent improvement that we do every year. And so that's baked in as well. So I wanted to just talk about, and the superintendent obviously can add in to this, FY '20 proposed expenditures. We have academic programming, we have the instructional staff training, I needed to move my bus over, instructional technology, which includes the computers, we have textbooks, we have tutoring, and we have additional buses. And we talked about the buses, we have bought buses over the last, since I've been here, but we initially had planned to do 3 buses, and I said, let's back that out down to 2, so that we can have some other money that we can move to the out years. And so I suggested that, and we're gonna look at revising some of the operation or transportation budget. And then I said, what's happening in the next 6 months? Obviously, the most important piece is the budget, the biennium budget from Governor Mike DeWine, and that's House Bill 166. And that will go into effect, hopefully in the next month, by the end of June 30th. So we're still waiting on the particulars, not sure what they're gonna do in terms of that, but it looks like, to all the indications that I can see, that Trotwood, the state foundation monies are gonna be about the same. And if it's not, it's gonna be a little higher, we're not gonna get anything less. But we're not gonna get the increases that we have gotten the last under Casey's administration. Healthcare plans, we're addressing those due to increased premiums. The premiums are coming in at between 20% and 26%. They have talked to Trotwood-Madison, ours came in at 26%, but we're talking to EPC to kind of redo some of those plans so that we can reduce that potential increased premium. And then obviously one of the bigger things is the negotiations, and we've been negotiating, 2 months?
2 months.
The last 2 months with TMA, and we're hoping within 6 months that negotiation piece will have concluded. Keep in mind, the negotiations pieces are baked in here into the 5-year as well. So I just wanted to make sure.
Hey, Janice, I'm sorry, real quick before you turn the page up at the FY '20 proposed expenditures, the instructional staff training. Now, I know we have a lot of staff training going on under the grants. We have a lot of instructional staff training going on under the grants.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
what is this?
Okay, so those are instructional staff training under general fund, but he can.
These are grants, these are grants.
Okay, so we shouldn't take
Yeah,
that out.
that shouldn't be here.
Okay, so I can take that out. So what we're saying, all the instructional staff
Right.
training will be done through the grant.
And not the general fund?
Yeah.
And that would be the same thing for the tutoring.
That depends, 21st century?
It's running
Well, no,
down.
not just 21st century. We have Title IV. We have all those grants with unencumbered money that just makes me cringe.
Right.
For all the money we have and all the needs we have, and we're tapping over into general fund, and we can't do that. So, it goes back to when I was asking for our director of grants that was supposed to come in and do all these things, and at the end, he didn't. I'm just gonna be honest here, because it upsets me a lot, because we have all this grant money, I'm looking at it, we're within 2 months of having to encumber it or spend it, or say how we're gonna spend it. And I know it was in December, I think I asked for that spend down plan. How are we gonna spend all this money? What he brought wasn't, it didn't do it. And so, never got that, but now we need it. Because that's an accountability for us to have to potentially go out to taxpayers in 2 or 3 years because we didn't spend money we could have spent from grants, and we're pulling it from general fund.
Right, and I'd also look at Title IV for the technology as well. It seems like, I would like for us to explore that or something. I feel as though none of those grants have been explored. I feel as though they have not been explored.
You said none of those grants have been what?
Explored?
Explored.
Intentional use. If I'm the director of grants, I'm assessing all the needs we have, and I am spending every dime to tutoring, to whatever, technology, to STEM-related stuff.
Absolutely.
But for us to have it there, well, okay.
I think Janet can speak to, she's met with Trevan and with James, they can talk about, she can definitely talk about grants and how the spend down is happening and how money is moved around in grants.
But I need him, I'm gonna say this, this is for me. Let me say this first. I need our director of grants that we paid.
Absolutely.
That was his only sole job. That was the reason this board hired him. That's why we were sold to hire him, and it was to bring not only the grants we had, but new grants. So I need him to
Right.
speak for me.
You need,
And you are,
I agree, from being a part of the finance committee, we need him, not Janice, him.
he
do his
needs to
job.
come and talk to the spend down for
That we've
that
asked for 3 times.
89,000 unencumbered for Title I, the 100 and some unencumbered, and we're 2 months away.
And we have asked 3 times.
Can I speak on behalf of some of the grants, just kind of
Yeah.
share with you? Again, right now, to give you an example of how grant monies can come unencumbered, you can actually have a plan. We had a plan to spend about $500,000 on summer school. And that was just, we knew that going in, thinking all the kids would be there. We did outreach for all the students, trying to get kids to come into it. We ended up with about $365,000 for summer school that we're actually gonna pay the ESC. In the last 2 weeks, one of the things that happened with the ESC and other agencies around the country in regards to ESSA, anything over $250,000 now has to be bid out. And then, so at this point, now you have the ESC scrambling and around the state, trying to scramble to find out how we're gonna do these things, because we cannot take our title dollars now and just give it to one agency, anything over $250,000. The challenge that we ran into from an instructional standpoint, the group that we've been using, this Bell project that's been going on for many years here, it's tied in with another school district. So we went back to the ESC and asked them, is there another way that they can help us leverage those dollars for our title money to be able to operate and to give them that program versus it being, having an RFP petitioned out. So they came back, and I think they're gonna eat some of the costs. We now have a bid, I think a proposal for like $225,000. Now, again, I'm sharing with you, we had $500,000 out there just a month ago for summer school. It's now $242,000. Now, in saying that, we're having a surplus now, $258,000 that we have to spend. And those are kind of some of the things that happen with this grant money. Money comes in, it comes out. And again, I think that we've been having those conversations. The other part I would say around grant monies, there have been a lot of this grant money has been spent on such as things. And again, instructional technology should not be on here. You're right about that. That should not be on either, because we spent federal monies to buy instructional technology. Also with the instructional technology, that is a reimbursable. We get a certain percentage of money back every year. We spend the money on instructional technology, the state then reimburses through E-rate. So we do not have to pay for the technology because of our free and reduced population. So again, that should not be on this list as well. With the grants though, we were looking at how to best maximize those grants. We have personnel, work with James on this, and we started looking at our budgets for next year and think about next year. We started thinking about if you put people's salaries in there, what happens when you put salaries in there? Yeah, people move, they come and they go. That changes the dynamics of how much money you have left. One of the things that we found out since we went to a Title I conference about a month ago is, if you're gonna have money remaining at the end of the year, what you do, you go in there and you work with ODE, and you say you have until the end of September to spend those dollars, but you earmark how you're gonna use those dollars to help us move forward. That money can then be used if we're doing PD in July, and even the first couple of days before school starts in August, we can use those same dollars now to pay for professional development, and it would never touch the general fund. But as long as you acknowledge the fact that you had those monies earmarked for one thing, and you had your plan that's changed based on something, you put into ODE, they then will certify, and you can spend those dollars. Just trying to give you a general rundown of how the monies are there, and sometimes the best laid plans may not work.
Now, is what you're just outlining, is that a given? Is that pretty much standard, or is that something that may or may not?
What the standard being about?
The going back to the state and
Yes, standard.
repurposing the funds.
That's standard.
Well, there could have been backup plans, I think. I just can't believe that we're down to the wire and we're like scrambling, you know, and he's supposed to be this expert who knew what to do. When you talk about PD, was that an option last year? Because we could have put Harvey Silver through that we could have paid for him through a grant then, right? That's
Yes.
PD.
Yes, correct.
So is that still something we can funnel through?
Yes, we're going back.
We can go back and get reimbursed?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so then that's
Yes.
a
That's
big
a
thing.
So,
big
yeah,
That's a big
so,
chunk.
so Janice, this changes then, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because this is in your presentation,
That's
but we're looking at these things for the proposed expenditures from the general fund. That's,
That's not true.
this, the instructional staff
Yes.
training, the instructional technology piece,
Correct.
and also the tutoring,
Mhm.
okay?
And then a big chunk of it, of the professional development, that's huge.
Oh, yeah.
at Harvey
That's a
Silver,
huge
come out
piece.
of the grant.
That's
And go back, yeah, go back.
And the two grants that we just got in January, how had he intended to spend those dollars?
That's the one about the high school. We're spending that money with the team that's going to the high school that works. the high school
Okay,
staff.
and my only concern with that is people that are retiring should not be going to training if they're not gonna be here next year. That's a
So,
personal.
so you're saying really and truly, the grants person who is retiring, I mean, anybody, but it's specifically, because, I
It's
mean, really,
anyone that
but,
we
but
know
anybody
won't be
who's
here.
not gonna be here,
Right.
and they
Right.
shouldn't have been going to
That's not the
anything,
policy.
period,
Absolutely.
because they're not gonna be here, unless they're going on their own. And anybody can go on their own, because that doesn't help the district, because they're gonna be out.
And I almost feel like I want to say, I want my money back. Like,
Oh, that
but
Trayvon owes us some money?
I'm just going, I want my money back.
Yeah.
So in summary, to summarize, obviously the student enrollment piece is gonna be huge, and I put ACRA recordings, meaning that we have to, make sure that we record our students coming and going, to make sure that that's accurate, because that's the gateway to our funding. And so I said that's gonna be vitally important for revenue growth. Obviously, the resources, I think we did a good job of looking at our allocations to address the needs of our students. And then obviously, from my perspective, I wanna make sure that I monitor the revenue and the expenditure to make sure that this model that we put in front of you is being followed.
If I can ask a question about, where is it? About personnel. And I know you attribute like the rise in spending for personnel services is about, you know, the amount of people that we've added. But how much of that is not necessarily the amount of people we've added, but just how much increase has happened for the ones that we just consistently keep, just the employees that are here? Because, I mean, really, I don't see personnel services really going down in any circumstances.
So every year, we bake in 2% for steps
Okay,
and 2.5% on the forecast for an proposed increase.
okay.
As we're in negotiations, we put that in, but we're not saying we're gonna do that.
And I say that only because if we're talking about, you know, cutting spending, you know, and we looked at salaries kinda, sorta, recently, I mean, we can't really cut anything from there because it increases so heavily every year. So like when, where is it? So for supplies and materials, that goes down considerably from year to year. How do you determine, you know, what supplies or materials are gonna be needed in any given year that the decrease is so significant?
So it just depends on, sometimes the supplies and materials are the books. So when you
Okay.
have a textbook adoption, that can go up. So your textbook adoption could be $500,000.
Okay.
You know, so those are the things that increase that line. And so that when we talk about, when you look at that that's what the forecast has, and it's just the assumptions. Those assumptions every 6 months can change. So I could file another one after, May 31st. I could do one in, June, so we could do one every month. But it's just a projection, and as things change and as we know what, actuals we have, then we can change the, forecast.
And I only ask because, I think at this point, everybody knows that 2023 has always been a topic of conversation for me when you talk about, $8 million in deficit
Yes,
spending.
yeah.
I mean, where can we get this money from?
Well, I shouldn't say the only way, we would have to get it, to recoup some of it or not have it as deficit spending, we have to rein back our expenditures or increase our revenue.
Right, and I guess where are we gonna rein it in from?
Well, the only way you're gonna rein it in is you have to reduce staff.
Your staffing, I mean, I'm looking at $2 million for all the additional bodies, $2.3 million, because we added the wraparound services and social workers and mental health,
That's the only way we
and,
can do it.
Okay.
so that's those extra people. And let's face it, when we start running out of money, and not just us, but everybody, what happens in a district or anywhere? Yeah, it's a downside, it's a risk, people lose their
And I'm
jobs.
just gonna say this in terms of levies, guys, one meal only brings in $212,000.
Yeah.
And so if you talk about, putting extra money on our residents, we haven't passed a levy in a decade or more. So I don't think, we gotta just be intentional about this and make sure that we are looking at our revenue and our expenditures so that we can push that out as far as we can.
Yeah, and our retirees that come into the building to the games and stuff, they see that we're spending money,
Oh, yes.
and
Somebody
they're
called me at Buc-ee's.
concerned,
Well,
they're concerned that, you all can't be thinking, don't even be thinking about coming out for a levy or coming to ask the community, because
I actually had a community member, wanting to talk with me, and so we had lunch. And so his concern was about a levy. So I said, I don't have a crystal ball, but we're trying everything we can do not to have the city, Trotwood residents to fund a levy.
I mean, and let's just be, there's no more money out there.
Yeah, exactly.
There
you
just
mean for
isn't.
the citizens, yeah.
There just isn't.
Yeah,
Student enrollment's only, student enrollment, I think the answer to that really is student enrollment. We gotta go really be aggressive
And so-
towards
and
student enrollment.
I'm
We
glad-
picked up 25 kids, I can tell you right
We
now,
need
we
to-
picked up 25 kids right now in open enrollment I know of for next year. But there were at least 6 kids that enrolled this week in school.
And I'm glad you said that, because I was gonna bring it up. So yesterday, I was kind of working in my yard, and there were people walking around our neighborhood from, Trotwood Prep, and they were hanging door hangers.
I got those.
And I think, there's a strategy by a pastor by the name of Craig Groeschel that says, one of the greatest things that people can do to be innovative is really the lack of resources. And so they were out hanging door hangers, but they're also talking to people, trying to find out. And we can spend $100,000 on this thing for Catapult, and they can do a really good job, but we're missing the mark on the innovation because we have the money to spend. And when you, trust me, when you don't have the money to spend, you get really, really creative about how to do the things that need to be done. And I think we're still missing the mark in terms of enrollment because we are not engaging people. We're sending, we can do the commercials and we can do the billboards, but we're not talking to people. And when I talk about, putting Trotwood Prep out of business, I literally mean putting them out of business. Because at this point, it's a competition and let the better man win. But they're working with less money, but they're being more impactful and more engageful in the people that they want to come to their school because they don't have the money to spend.
Well, like last year, you got out and knocked on doors.
Yeah.
Right,
That was
right.
summertime,
Yeah.
we'll do that again,
Yeah.
we'll do that again.
Yeah.
We'll go to the
And
summer.
let's face it too, Trotwood Prep, they are disguising themselves as the district.
With schools.
Yeah,
When you pull up Zillow, our elementary school was Trotwood Prep.
can we get that fixed?
Thierry, they was working on.
It's hard to get something like that. That's
Yeah.
internal with Zillow. I just want us,
But still, we have to try to do everything, that's what I'm just saying, every single thing, knocking on the doors, door knockers, hangers,
Picking up some Jefferson Township. too.
Yeah, picking up Jefferson Township.
They're not ready to merge with us?
They're not,
I think, well, they're down to about 125 kids.
yeah.
And
Like,
I'm-
we should initiate that conversation. If we know they got hundred and
I spoke
twenty-five
to
kids.
Dr. Gates, I spoke to him 2 weeks ago, and just talked to me, he said, Charlie, he said, here's the deal, he said, I can't tell my kids to come in, he said,
Right.
if they realize there's nothing here, they'll just leave and come over anyway.
And if I may add a point, when you're speaking of Jefferson Township, there is a certain, still a residual pride and sense of uniqueness and community there as well. And just because the district is shrinking, doesn't mean that everybody's ready to leave, because you see it's shrinking and they're still in there. And if you actually went in and looked at some of the people who are still there, they're second and third generation Jefferson Township folks, or I'm not really into Facebook, but if you get on there and look, they have they still have a pretty powerful presence on there in terms of their alumni and sticking with their identity and things. It is shrinking though, I mean, you know.
I mean, it's just, reality versus everything else. And I agree with Mr. Andrews. I think we just need to be proactive about engaging, certain populations. We have wonderful things to offer.
Right, yeah.
Are we losing? Do we know if we're losing students?
I haven't seen, we have not seen excess of students to walk out. We've been picking them up though. We know that.
Well, I know
Maybe
the
we need
housing
to-
market is booming right now, like in Trotwood, there's so many new families that are moving in. I mean, Trotwood, the houses are selling like very,
I
very
was
quick.
looking on the internet the other night,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to think, it was some real estate site, and they were talking about the lack of housing that's available here.
In Trotwood.
It's being
In
snapped
Trotwood,
up.
because people are buying
Buying
homes.
homes.
Hopefully it's people.
Janice,
that's
are
doing-
you gonna, you're gonna fix that slide,
Oh,
and you're
yeah,
gonna bake
yeah.
those
And
numbers
so,
in?
yeah, so
and-
what I'll do on, next Thursday is update the presentation. I don't necessarily have to do it again, but, if you guys want me to, or I can just send that updated presentation back to you if that's what your pleasure is.
Yeah, you can update it and send it out to us.
Tyrone, you let me take the heat for my T-shirt, and you was sitting over there with that shirt on. You
I
had your
kept
jacket.
I kept pointing at
Wrong
it.
round.
Y'all see, he kept his jacket on,
This
right?
is the old one, but
That's the right one to me.
I know it's, this is a clip art.
That's the clip
This
art
is
that
clip
the
art.
other.
You said that's the
ones-
right one?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right, that's-
I'm okay with this one.
Listen,
is
that's the
what I'm
clip art
saying.
one, though. So
Yeah.
we don't own anything to this one here.
Yeah.
But one of the things, again, Janice may not, I'm not sure if she shared this or not, one of the things myself, Janice, and Marlon, again, working together today, we knew that after this presentation, we'll get back together and work through some other things and clean up some more of the 5-year forecast.
Find some more dollars. You know, before I think about, just one little note, thinking about students, losing students, maybe we need to send something out to say, looking forward to you coming back, something to entice, what would get you to bring your kids back next year?
I think some of what Catapult is attempting to do, some of the things that you mentioned, going out and doing a door-to-door kind of thing. I think the more people hear that we're determined and that we're positive in terms of looking forward, I think the more effective it'll be, because realistically, if you look at the options of a lot of people who are leaving here, they're going to Dayton, or that some of them, few of them go to Jefferson, and some of them go to Northmont, and every once in a while want to go to Van Day, but their options are pretty similar to what's here. I think the difference is, or the difference would be how persistent and sincere we are in letting them know that we want them to stay, and that we are working to make it what it is that would make them want to stay.
I feel like, and this may seem cold in some way, but if we don't capitalize on the current culture or environment of the surrounding districts, we lose.
How do you mean?
I mean, if we don't take advantage of the fact that, and this is just the business side mind of me talking, if we don't take advantage of the fact that people are disgruntled with Dayton, and that they're closing schools, and that Jefferson Township has low enrollment, if we don't take advantage of that while we can, somebody's going to. We miss it. And I think that's a really prime opportunity for us to increase enrollment quickly.
Yeah, and I would agree. I
Yeah, and
think-
Richard, yeah.
I think the truth of the matter is, we are probably gonna be working hard at trying to solicit some of those folks to come here as opposed to, Northmont or Vandalia or those places. People are going there because the perception is it's better and it's gonna be better for their kids.
I don't think it's as hard as we think. I'm gonna tell you, I was, talking to a young lady, one lady I work out with, and, her daughter goes to Richard Allen, and she's been looking for a school. She lives in Trotwood. And she said, she was looking at DECA, and the guy at DECA actually lied to her and told her that, the DECA, the basketball team, I forget how many, 3 or 4 of the starting lineup go to DECA and not Trotwood. And so I text Tyrone like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's not true. This is the superintendent just told me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She was like, okay, well, I'm gonna send my kid to Trotwood. I'm gonna go ahead and send her to Madison Park. I was like, okay. I said, cause that guy, he's just trying to get students over there, you know, he's just lying.
And I almost look at it, I'm sorry.
And so they just are making up, people are just, trying to get students here any way they want. But for me, the reason I kept my kid in Trotwood, cause my oldest kid, I didn't start him out, I started him out in Trotwood and pulled him out after kindergarten. I let Chip start in Trotwood, and I kept him in Trotwood because I was so impressed by Miss Bell and Miss Scarborough, who came to my house when I wasn't there, but my husband was there, came to my house to meet us. I was impressed by it. They came in the evening, and I have never had a teacher come to my house and want to sit down and talk to us. I was very impressed with that. And so that little bit went a long way. And so I think that it's not as hard as we think it is, because I was ready to throw down thousands of dollars as I did with my first child. So it's not that hard.
I think I think sometimes we miss the very small.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Final touch. And I'll give a pastoral perspective. Most people who go to a church go because someone personally invited them to come, not because they had a flyer or was an event.
it's not that hard.
And it's the same concept. I mean, we, not just us, but we have to have enough faith in what we do here to personally invite somebody to send their kid here.
It's not that hard.
I just don't think it's that hard.
And that's what I did with the lady I worked out with. I said, what about Trotwood? I said, Madison Park's great, you know, and I didn't know she was looking, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna send her to Madison, just like that. I didn't know she was looking to send her anywhere.
Wow.
Well, in that vein, then maybe, I don't know, maybe we need to be looking at, from each school, staff that are really into what it is they're doing, that might be, interested and available to do some things like that. I mean, it's kind of like when I was growing up, doctors made house calls, and it was very common for teachers to make house calls when I first started. And I don't know how we got away from it, but we kind of did.
Are we ready for the superintendent report? Are you, you finished?
If you didn't have any other questions.
Okay.
So, see, one of the things, again, that's a great point, one of the things that around the same time last year, what we did, we went in there and pulled a list of all the students who lived in the district, but that did not attend our schools, and all that target list when we started hitting those doors at the end of May, early part of June. And the other thing, we also be targeting really a lot of the kids who attend the ECOT type school, the electronic schools, because we have a virtual program set up now, we can actually recruit those kids as well, and also go after the homeschool students. You know, because again, I think we offer some things that those homeschool students are really looking for, particularly the fine arts and the arts and band and music. So we're gonna look at really trying to get those kids to be participating in that. They don't have to come to school during the daytime, they can just come to the performance and still be a part and count it in our tuition.
Are we voting on this tonight?
One second, get my board docs back up and cut out. How'd they do that, Janice?
I don't know why it timed out.
Thanks, Mom. One second, try to get back in.
I had to do the same thing.
It's working now, it's back, it's back. Thanks, I appreciate it. 1 second, let me write for you. Okay.
Yes.
Superintendent's item A, report on the 5 essentials, youth truth and ergometrics. I have a copy for every one of the youth truth and things that we're doing. I know back in their buildings, back in our buildings, the principals have been sharing information about around youth troop with their TBTs, and their BOTs, and having conversations. And this right here's top part of the youth troop kind of tells the staff and students and the staff about what this is about, and then how do you use this to have conversations. I can share with you just an example. Last night, I know at Tammy's building in Madison Park, we were in a class last night, and they were talking about culturally responsive practices and using some of this youth truth data here, and just having conversations about it. In the middle school, I met with the superintendent's leadership group, but I met with the female group, right? And one of the things I noticed it was saying in one of these surveys, and like the youth troop had said, that kids felt safer at home than at school. And we most of us think, well, kids should feel safer at school than at home and in the community. So one of the things, in having that conversation with the young ladies, they were saying that, you'll go back to, I think that happened back in November and December, we're talking about the young ladies and kids who want to wear their jackets in the middle school. And we had that conversation. When you have the young ladies and the boys together, at that time it was cold, but that was a conversation that the kids had. Having the young ladies by themselves yesterday, they shared with me, that's one part of it. The other part is about body image and how they feel. So some of this, I think sometimes we got to start thinking as a young adult how those students really feel, because that is perceived as bullying when these young boys are saying things to these young ladies that may be inappropriate. They also brought up even the color of our pants at the middle school. The light colored pants are wrong for these young ladies. They wanted dark colored pants. I mean, and that was just kind of conversation. So it helped me start to understand some of the information I'm seeing here. So sometimes when they say bullying, what does bullying really look like? And I think we try to dive deep into what what does that really look like? I think we have to ask more questions and really just take the time to really dive into what are they really saying here. I can tell you, but the buildings are using this information, having conversations. I know the high school had conversations as well, and this was a good conversation to let the teachers know this is what the students were saying about how they felt the teachers were interacting with them. Individual teachers may be doing a great job of interacting with students. As a whole, the students felt like the teachers were not there for them as a care, and I'm not saying that's a true statement, but I think you have the information, you still have to then have more conversation with the students. What does that look like? Did I just have a bad day today and I'm mad at the teacher? So those are the kind of conversations we have. A lot of our results, and again, this is our first year doing it, this is our baseline data, and this is where we now build plans. Myself and administrators work in the summer with our teacher-based teams. We work on building plans to improve on where we are when it comes to engagement. I mean, those are kind of academic rigor, relationships, the culture, and college and career readiness. So that's from the Youth Truth Survey. There's a lot of good data in there, and many times we're at the lower end. But again, I think this is where we start and try to build. If you remember, Tracy Mallory spoke about this as well when they were talking about kids in Phil accepting her building. But he had to ask the question of the kids, what does that really look like? And that's when she explained it was a whole nother, what they were thinking, the question to ask was something different. So sometimes we gotta, this is data, this is good data, but I think sometimes we gotta dive deeper into the question of what kids are perceiving the question to be asking. So.
Just out of curiosity, why at the middle school do the light pants make a difference? Did they?
Young ladies?
Yeah.
Minstrel seconds.
Show to.
Minstrel seconds.
So the girls are being teased, and then that comes off, for them, they will say they're being bullied. So actually, I'm meeting with each of the different principals next week, and we're thinking about their handbooks for next year, and one of the things we're gonna look at is dress code, what's in there for dress code, because I can tell you one of the things we gotta definitely make sure we tighten up on to high school is those leggings. Because.
The staff wears those.
Well, the staff is now complaining about it and talking about how bad, well, you may not see it right when you go to your class, but it's don't got out of hand over there.
With the staff?
No, the students and what they're wearing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's gonna got bad. So they wanna definitely, I mean, this is women coming to me and said, "Tell me, I didn't see anything." They said, "Well, we see some things, we're gonna tighten this up." So I asked, I pulled a couple of ladies aside and asked them, would they help talk about that with the other staff members so they can then lead that effort, because what they're seeing is totally inappropriate for school. With those
Some of
leggings.
my students have even said, they're like, now, some of this stuff is kind of.
Raunchy.
Yeah.
Students.
Yeah, because some of mine have been a little out of hand.
And so that's So again, I want to share with the youth troop, again, this is good basic information for us, and we're looking at it as a district and as a building and teams. We're taking this information as it is, but we also now diving deeper and talking to staff and students about what does this look like really, and how can we improve on our culture and climate based on that, which is one of the two big goals that we have for this year.
Just real quick, back to the dress code. I'd like to have a dress code that for events, honor assemblies, things where they're being recognized, things where you have outside people coming in. There's a professional dress that they need to put on, because it looks really, really bad, like we didn't prepare them to go out into the world, to know how to dress, to go out in the world. And so, I don't know if that's something we need to, do we have to put that in our policy, or?
I think it's something that needs to be
I think
maybe
it should just be
mentioned.
initiated if they're building the building.
Let's build
Yeah.
that's leadership, and I tell you,
Yeah.
and again, Vanessa, I think you're absolutely right, and we recognize that. One of the things, even when we think about the choir, our show choir, we're not gonna go out in just T-shirts and just any old thing.
Yeah.
If we go out to
Right.
the general public, we're talking about getting them some uniforms, something that has a little vest and a little bow tie, and something that looks presentable to the public. We don't have to go out there and ragtag and say we have a group, because I think it sends a
And
bad
you know,
message.
I don't know that we have to get them a uniform, because we had Mr. Jackson at the middle school, and he took those students to Ohio School Board Association. They saw him, and Ron Diver over that came and asked, I want them to perform. That was the first time our students got to perform. When they were at the
Foundation, they did it right.
he had all they had on was black and white.
Right, that's what it is.
Black and white, the guys had on bow ties.
Mm-hmm.
Our choir had on pants,
shorts.
they had on anything.
Khakis.
So, I don't know that we need to
That's the
buy them a uniform.
It's the
It's
leadership.
What I'm
leadership.
saying, but the uniform is really a shirt, a bow tie, and like a cummerbund or something like that. That's what
Yeah.
we're talking about getting for the choir, so it looked presentable, like what the guy had.
But I think they should have I mean, it's something I think they should have. It
Totally
doesn't
agree.
have to be
Well, yeah.
something, I don't know.
Even the Honor Society, the National Honor
Right.
Society, that is like a huge dignified event. Those kids were just in anything. I mean, they look like ragamuffins, some of them. I mean, really, they really did. I mean, I was just, you showed me pictures of the one that you had gone to. Kids had on their caps and gowns. They were nicely dressed. I mean, it was like ceremony.
Those are a lot of things that we're looking at, and how we do things, and raising the level of expectations.
So I was trying to cut down the expense, I'm sorry.
I know.
I mean,
Well, white shirt and black pants would make a difference, though. I mean, that would
right,
look
that's
tough.
what I'm saying,
Right.
and they should have that in their
Well, and
wardrobe.
again, that's like for instance,
Safety.
at the middle school, they're having their transitional ceremony from 8th grade to high school. They have to wear black pants, black shirt, black
Right,
shoes.
right.
I mean, so the leadership said, okay, kids,
This
this
is
is what
it.
you
Right.
must
This
wear.
is the dress code.
Good.
They sent out the letter a month ago.
Good.
So that their parents could make sure that you got
Right.
the black pants and the black shirt, boom, you know,
Right.
so that's leadership.
Yeah, and it's a simple dress code.
Okay, we need to move
Oh,
on,
sorry.
because I got it. I don't want to be here all night. I know y'all don't either, right?
With orgometrics, I think I sent out information on it, but I think I did orgometrics. I can tell you there's 3 priorities that they identified, the areas that we really need to focus on, and we will be addressing those issues. And again, priority 1 is communication. Priority 2 is leadership, and priority 3 is our mission and vision. So those are the things I'll be continuously working through the DOT with. Again, working with our building leadership this summer and with their building leadership teams this summer on priorities 1, 2, and 3. Again, priority 1 was communication, priority 2 was leadership, and priority 3 was mission and
I
vision.
sent this to, everybody has this in their email.
In our email.
Mhm.
One thing I noticed on here, when we're looking at the summary, Trotwood's percentage is kind of low.
It is low.
But when you look at them individually, what I'm noticing is that the positive, the percentage gets lower as the kids get older. It seems like 9th and 10th grade are pretty, seem to be pretty positive, and then it starts dipping around 11th grade, and 12th grade is kind of lagging the field in almost each one of these.
Right.
So maybe it's something that we need to try to, look at in terms of how the upperclassmen perceive things, and what is it that's causing them to have, you know.
Engagement issues and concerns.
Yeah, maybe it's something that, maybe it's a cumulative effect of, you know, the third or fourth year of school, or maybe it's something specific to those grade levels or something, I don't know, but it just seems like maybe that's something that.
It wanes as we go further on. One of the things I can share with you from one of the kids who was a really quality student, they were taking a lot of classes that they were just placed in classes that have a full day. Many kids wanted to leave after their fifth period class. So next year, we have a provision in there for students to be able to check out after fifth period, because only you required for a full day to be there for 5 periods. They'll be able to check out and actually go get a job and do other things. But then many times they were taking classes like this one student, he's failing art and some other class, right? Killing his GPA before he goes off to college because he don't need the class. But it was just there as a filler for this kid's schedule versus him having an opportunity to be able to leave school after fifth period. So we have addressed that. The last survey is our 5 essential survey. We have the result data, and I sent that out to the board as well. Again, the survey topics that are contained in the 5 essentials is safety. That means home, neighborhood, school, and classroom. They have peer relationships to bullying and belonging, and adult interactions and relationships as teachers, administrators, and family. And then the last, it talks about class options of rigor and enrichment and preparedness. It also talks about, and again, I think I forwarded to everyone, it talks about how we're rated, and I think that's another day we can have as a part of another retreat, we can really look at the 5 essentials. There's a lot of information there. And, but again, I think I didn't want to just throw it out there to you because it may paint the wrong picture of individuals. And I think that this is where I think we have to have more information to where we're trying to ask, what question are we really asking here?
Okay. So maybe when we do our summer retreat,
That'd
we
be a good
can,
one. Yeah. And we just sent the information about the 5 essentials to the principals so they can really start to dive into that, because we got the data back about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
okay. Item B.
The district prioritized spending plan, and if you're looking at for the summer, we have the title dollars that we still have, and that's the money we're spending down right now. I think I forwarded everyone the itemized summer. There's a tab that has budgets on there. Did you guys get that? That actually has lists everything that we're spending money on, and that's all that money wiped out of that account based on those things that we're buying. So that's itemized district prioritized spending for the remainder of this school year, the 18-19 school year. And going into the 19-20 school year, we prioritize by looking at what are the big essential items that we need to buy, and then what are the needs, the wants. The needs are there. One of the things I asked that the board look at is under field trips. I may have sent that to you all. And one of the things we're looking at doing, providing experiences for students, but to provide experiences for students based on the different grade levels, about $96,000, and that money would then come from Title I, which would be, again, grant money, but it was really designed to help kids around reading and mathematics. But I wanted the board to look at those field trips that were there and give feedback and comments. That's it.
And I think that probably addresses some of probably the next one on the grant spend down plan. But when I looked through there, I saw a lot of Title I. I didn't see any of the Title IV, or what's that other one, Myra, $5.99?
The sped money?
Yeah, I
Special-
didn't see
Special education.
the others. I only saw Title I and maybe some 21st
Yeah,
century.
because most of the other grants are actually spent down or are actually exhausted right now. So anything was left was Title I dollars. That's why you're seeing just the Title I information on there.
Okay.
I thought there was quite a bit of Title IV though.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't,
I think that may have been one of those things where we had to go back, we had some things coded incorrectly, and had to go back and then transition it back to Title IV.
Yeah.
But I can take a look at that tomorrow and give you know.
So you're
give-
thinking that we're more than 75% spent on Title IV?
Yes. So I'll go back and pull information on it. There may be some things that were coded incorrectly that I had to go back on. An example at Myra, like in Title I, like with Harvey, that could have been taken out of Title I, but it was coded to general fund and should have been taken out of Title I.
So then the other one is even Title II,
Sped.
so that will be spent?
Yes.
Okay, and then 21st century would all be spent.
Yeah, and remember, 21st Century, one challenge with that next year, Janice knows this as well. To really run that program, it can cost us, in general fund dollars, roughly $500,000. Because remember, this grant, every year, it reduces the amount of money that we receive for it, but if you're gonna maintain the same level of services, we have to actually put money in to the Title I program.
But then we would just need to adjust the services, right? So we would have been doing that,
This year.
this year.
Right, we adjusted, and then that's what people were saying, it didn't seem like it was really a good program, but we were trying to meet the mark on the dollars, and that's how it came about. Because staffing is really your biggest expense when you're looking to run these programs. And for, I'll give you an example, just for the tutors, if we looked at 3 tutors per building working 15 hours a week, that's really $500,000 that we're actually spending total. And that's not including the 21st Century grant, just looking at 3 tutors for each building.
So those 2 grants we got, in January, are those just one-year grants?
They come in when they come. You don't know if you get.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know if
didn't
we
know
can have
this
them
year until
next year.
January, but it was only $35,000, I think that was
Right.
in,
It's the high school.
Yeah, high school
schools,
improvement.
High school
Yeah,
improvement.
improvements grant.
$35,000 is a lot of
But
money.
you don't
I know.
know if you're getting it though. I
But
mean,
we don't know if we get it, we got
you
it
can't
in
plan
January,
for it.
so.
You get it, so now we're sending a team to the high school that works conference. We're sending teams of teachers from the high school to the AP conference, those kind of things.
Yeah, I'd love to see an update, because I'm looking at the spend down from last time. There's hardly anything spent like on top of
Okay.
the
Yeah, again, one of the things we're talking about updating that by next week. We're trying to get, because a lot of that we spent down by next week and toward the end of the month. But there's, like I said, the money this year, you may see some money, additional dollars left over in title. Well, hopefully we're trying to spend those dollars on buying things that we need and providing service for the students. But I'm telling you, going from $500,000 down to $242, all of a sudden you had $500,000 you planned for something, now you only have $242,000 that you spent it on. So one of the things we're looking at, I talked to Kiera about enrichment activities, what are the enrichment activities that we're providing, and making sure then, if we had some things come out of general fund, that can now be taken care of through title. So it's just transferring those dollars now in a different method. The middle school program is another one that we'll be paying for out of title.
Any other questions on the grant spend down plan other than an updated,
That should be a big difference.
document with the current numbers?
Travan still works for us until June, right?
Right, correct.
I want him to present it.
I text him and tell him he'll present next time, if it's next week, it's next week. I mean, you guys tell me when, I just told him I sent it to him.
Okay. It'll be on the agenda. Okay, next up?
The next one is graduation update, graduation numbers update. We have 6 students that we know that will not be graduating based on them not completing the coursework or haven't met one of the pathways. We have another 22 students who had to have at least a 2.5 GPA their senior year of school to graduate. We find out next Friday on those individual students. I sent one chart to you to kind of outline the number of students we have. So right now, at best case right now, if all these kids graduate we're talking about, we'll be at 90.6%, because there's some kids in the same cohort. And how graduation rates look. You have a kid who started with this group 4 years ago and that kid's now gone, that kid still counts in your graduation rate, even though that kid's no longer here. So we gotta track those kids. So we had 22 kids that we know of that won't graduate, although we don't know where they are. But this 22 that we're looking at right now is a group that we're really working on right now to get those kids through. I know there are 7 kids who are gonna do a presentation tomorrow for the same presentation that happened 2 weeks ago, the capstone presentation. There's 7 kids who are gonna do the capstone presentation tomorrow at the high school, I do know that. And again, the others, I know they've been working with those kids at the high school to try to get that GPA to 2.5 to get these kids a fair chance of graduating here. So we'll know next Friday, the 17th, that's a group that will not. Only thing I can tell you is only 6 that we know that won't make it.
And the CTC students also count
Yeah, CTC students
for our
count.
graduation.
Yeah, they do count, correct. End-of-year events, I'm actually getting a compiled list of end-of-year events from our building leadership, and I'll be able to share that out to to our board. As you know, there's a lot of things going on at the end of the year. I mean, it's just a lot going on. I know the board wants me involved. Many times I find out about things, sometimes thinking that it's already gone through the appropriate channels, like being stamped and stamped over in operations, and it's pushed back to the buildings. I go to buildings, I pick up sheets of paper, and I'm thinking it's already gone through, and find out some stuff has never been gone through. And it goes back to you saying, Myra, then you're looking at the quality of it, like, who did this? So there's some things, again, me working with administrators this summer, we actually have a template of how to clean these things up, and making sure that we as a district here understand what they're putting out in their building, so when things are sent out, we're not blindsided by it. Because a lot of times, I'm getting things at the last minute, then trying to throw it to you and say, okay, can you make your calendar fit? You like, telling my calendar's already been adjusted last week and a half, I can't. The calendar for a lot of these important events that we know are coming up right now, we're keeping a track of all these important events, and we're gonna start putting them on a calendar, district calendar, and those dates are set for next year. We're also looking at how we do some of these events, and give you an example. We had that academic signing, not today, the one 2 weeks ago with the athletes. At the same time, you had the ROTC doing their event. You know, so those are kind of things that we gotta take care of in-house, because we're pinning our families against one another and trying to be in two events at the same time, and you can't do it. You gotta spread things out. But I will definitely get you a list of events, try to get to you tomorrow, for the end of the year, remaining events and buildings and things like that are coming up. 2019-2020 curriculum course outline, is that regarding to the online courses?
No, that was just, I thought it needed to come back before the board. We
Okay.
got a draft of it
Okay.
back in January, but we never got,
The final?
yeah, because in the draft, it said, working with Frank Russo needs to update this section.
Oh,
And then
gotcha.
another section, it had working with somebody, and so that was in January. We're now in
Yeah.
whatever month this is.
Okay,
And, so,
gotcha, I'll get the
and like I
change.
was looking on Northmont's, page, because we do some cross-check across districts to
Right.
see. And they were updating a course, and they actually did a presentation on a curriculum item they were bringing before the board.
Okay, I'll get that.
So, I know we have a few new classes in there, but I think they were all related to arts mostly.
Yeah, we have the AP courses going in this year, we have a lot of AP courses going in.
See, I didn't see that many AP honors courses.
They're in the art
Yeah,
and
I
arts
saw
and stuff, they're the
art,
arts.
jewelry, and then I saw some that are scheduled out for
2021.
2021, drawing and painting and
Right.
digital photography.
Right.
Now, Mario, I don't know if you saw, but there were some Sinclair courses on there.
That's what I'm
And
looking for now.
manager, so were those separate, or was that like one course? Manager food service management?
I believe that's online certification, the certification that they get from Sinclair. It's an
So
online
it's-
program.
Yeah, so I think it's like that kind of stuff, for us just to look at it. I'm trying to
Gotcha.
understand what it is. We would need, and it goes to, what we kind of talked about before, the vision of, like, we have one STEM program in 7th grade, but we don't have it infused, so that's a longer, if we're looking at 2021, then how are we looking at, the rest of that? I was watching that Channel 1. Euclid has a whole school, and their little kids are doing STEM coding, and they're building another school. They got a grant for it. But it's Euclid schools.
So I sent information to the board regarding a relationship that was established at the National Black Alliance for School Educators Conference in Baltimore. The guy is the director for what was called WAS University. Now it's just WAS Ed, started by Steve Wozniak, who was the co-founder of Apple. They have a STEAM program that works specifically in science, technology, engineering, math, and art. It is a very comprehensive program that they can incorporate, not just after school, but in-school curriculum. I talked to him again. He was, I told him that I would send that information out to see, you know, if, just so the board could look at it. I think I may have included you on that email. I may not have, I don't know. But I do remember sending him sending you his information, just as another opportunity. So we're not just saying, hey, we have this to have this, but it is actually those individuals who specialize in these fields, that can offer really comprehensive, you know, courses and curriculum. So I'll send to you what I sent to them, and I asked him if he would ever be willing to just come and just tell us, you know, what they have to offer. He's open to that, you know, so I'll send that information over to you.
And see, I think that's being visionary, that's longer term, to look at that, because then we're gonna have to look at the staffing that would need to go with it. I like it because it is that whole curriculum, but we wouldn't want a half meal, throw it in, but
Right.
it's like, we need to start the conversation
Absolutely.
to find that money.
More kids,
I know.
more kids,
Well, more kids.
more kids,
It
that's
really
the answer
would,
to it.
yeah.
More kids. So what I'll do, I have the high school come in, the counselors, because I know they want to do a presentation anyway in regards to this, so I'll get the counselors over
Yeah,
and
they
do a
did.
presentation. G is a school calendar with the staff times. Did a survey. Huh?
It's the arts classes that you see highlighted in red. And to me, those aren't really AP. I know, you know, we count them as gifted.
Right. And, yeah. And what we have, and again, one of the things, and just looking at a gifted whole program, again, we have a lot of things going on now in grades 6 through 11 next year in regards to what is gifted and what services those students are receiving as well. So it's a lot of things that, as a complete picture of what's going on, we'll be able to talk about that to retreat as well. For number G, letter G, the 2019-2020 school calendar, again, I went back and did a survey with the staff at the middle school and high school in regards to what time to start school. We had a 7 a.m. and 7:45 were the two times that we asked them to select from. We had 77 individuals respond. We had 41 staff members say 7 a.m. You had 36 members say 7:45. So, you know, it's really a 5-person difference there. One of the things we talked about, the rationale for thinking about 7:45 versus 7 o'clock, there were several reasons. One was to provide professional development at a common time when, if a teacher started at 7:45, they would then end at a time that when the elementary teachers are also ending, and that will put them at a very similar time, we can do district-wide professional development. The other thing we talked about is for staff safety. If you're looking at staff members during the winter months, when you're talking about trying to make a call at 5 o'clock versus 5:45 for a delay, we can easier make that call then at a later time, which, because many of our staff members are driving about an hour in. And that was from that data I shared with the board back in the winter months. And the other thing is with having a later time also allows, again, winter months as well. When other school districts are going to delay or closing, we really have to look at which school districts they are, because those are where our teachers are coming from. Majority of our staff members, our teacher staff, do not live in our community. Where our certified staff will be here, your classified staff will be here, your certified staff, however, may not be here because they may have children they don't have to take care of due to the inclement weather. So the proposal was to actually go have a 7:45 to 3:15 time for our teachers. The student day will still be 8 to 2:30. Here's the calendar, I'm sorry.
So this isn't right on here.
No,
This is
yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, the time on there was, it's 7:45 to 3:15.
Okay, this was 7:50 to 7:20.
This from 7:40, the one you have right
Yeah.
now should say 7:45. That one on there is the wrong one.
Okay.
I think you can't see it again. 7:45 to 3:15. And that was the time I stated last week as well, but the calendar was at the wrong time.
Any other conversations around the calendar, Ty, that you've had in the district?
Yeah, I spoke to leadership, the union leadership, and shared with them the results of it. And they understood some of the results. They were mentioned that, like with the middle school, they may have said 7 o'clock, and they were voted 7 o'clock because they really wanted the student day to go back to 7:15. Yeah, the middle school, and they get out at 1:45. You know, so that was really, I think, a lot of, the 7 o'clock people to vote was for middle school because they wanted to go back to 7:15. I said, that's just too early for the things that we're doing in our community. And kids, you're trying to get kids involved in things. They have to go home. Who's gonna bring them back to the school?
Well, kids at that bus stop that early was really, that was
Okay.
early.
So again, my proposal was keep it at 7:45 to 3:15. The pros, I thought, outweighed the cons.
So since the wrong attachment is on the agenda, this is not the calendar that we're actually voting on. That's
We can
currently
do
here,
agendas.
we're voting on the hand carry.
Well, I
Did you
can
already-
make, I can make a note that we are voting on the calendar with these changes in the minutes. We could do that and then,
Post the right one.
actually post the right one to the minutes. We could do that, I can make a note of that, if that's what you
I think
choose to do.
That's good.
Is that okay?
Yeah, what do you guys, okay? Yes.
So we'll post calendar. And what's the change, what's the old one here?
Has,
What's on the
has
system?
7:50 to 3:20.
Middle school.
Middle school and high school both have 7:50 to 3:20, and it should reflect 7:45 to 3:15. That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so we'll post this one, so we'll post new calendar with updated.
Okay, so I need a motion for superintendent's item G with the changes to, or the notes in the motion for the 2019-20 school, 2020 school year calendar with the notation middle school and high school start times, 7:45 to 3:15.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have it moved, and there's the second. Are there any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mr. Scares?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes,
Mrs. Bozeman?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes, motion passes.
Superintendent's item H. Recommendation for proposed administrative salary schedule. This is a hand carry.
This is number
H.
Okay. I need a motion for superintendent item H for the proposed administrative salaries.
I'll move.
I'll second.
It's been moved, and we have a second. Are there any questions?
This is exactly what you showed us.
No, there was a couple mistakes in salary, because what was there for the middle school salary, it say it had a number, Mr. Scares said it was like 101, 104, 107, then it repeated back to 101, 104, so that, the bottom two numbers are wrong. For the high school salary schedule, she had the wrong salary schedule there totally. Because again, if you looked at the one we looked at, the old one, the high school salary schedule was less than the middle school schedule. And really what you see here is it's really the schedule, the high school schedule actually is now comparable to what you see from a Dayton Public and all the other districts around here. But we start them higher to retract people, but we lock them in after 5 years. There's no gains after 5 years.
But this is reflective of the locked-in step
Yes.
at 8, right?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. There you go, exactly.
Also, I know that we had our law director look at
Yes, she did.
this new proposed administrative salary guideline and felt as if it was comparable and more than fair. Any other questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mr. Scares,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes.
Superintendent's item I, recommendation to approve the certified personnel agenda.
I need a motion for superintendent item I to approve or for the certified personnel agenda. Okay.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and we have a second. Are there any questions?
And this is exactly what was presented.
This is exactly what was presented, yes.
And this was also reviewed by the law department.
Correct.
And she said it was okay to present this.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, she made sure that this was congruent with
Yes.
that.
The order.
Any other questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mr. Scares,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes, abstain on A6.
you said A6,
A6.
A6, and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. The certified personnel agenda has been approved.
Well, amen.
I know, hallelujah. Okay. I had to say that. Okay.
Put that on tomorrow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it wasn't,
We only had one more. Yeah.
I'm assuming that's why this was,
Yeah, there's other ways, right, so would have just rolled over. Okay. Next item, we have an executive session. I need a motion to, for an executive session to discuss the employment of a public employee.
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved in second. Questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
I'm sorry, I missed it. It was me.
A second.
Oh. No action will be taken on this particular one, Mr. Overson, no action on,
correct.
okay? Thank you. Oh, it actually says action will be taken.
Maybe,
Does
the-
it say that?
Yeah, it does.
which one is that for then?
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
I
does it
think
say
that was,
Where's it say action?
Oh, it says type action.
I think that was
Well,
for,
yeah,
I think
that's
that was
just the
items
action
H
so that you
and
can
I.
go into.
Oh,
That's the
we're
motion.
we're
That's the
good,
motion.
so do we, okay, then we don't even really need to go into an executive session
No, I
if
thought
that,
that was something you guys had called.
no, that was.
Yeah, I think that the executive session was probably discussed this, we had to discuss it.
Okay. Yeah.
So do we still get the food?
Yeah, yeah. So you know what? So we should go into executive session for the food.
I'm just saying.
It's like, but do we still get the phone?
Well, you know what? We do need to go in there though, for real. There is. We do
Okay.
need to go in there, okay? And no action will be taken, so we
I
need,
have a question. All right.
it is not about the food, all right?
I just asked,
Okay.
y'all know y'all wanted to ask.
All right. Ms. Allen, will you call the roll as quickly as you can?
Mr.
Yes.
No. Mrs. Bozeman.
Yes.
Mr. Scares.
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes.
And Ms. Moore.
Yes, we will now enter into executive session to discuss the employment of
To eat the
a
food.
public employee.
For food.